Hey there, and welcome back to the Mini Weekend. I'm your host, Jack. Let's get into it, Minny. Man, that was really bad. So, bear with me as I pour tonight's soda of the podcast in a glass. This did not go as planned, and I was fully ready to just go with what happened. So, my dumbass self earlier tonight dropped the can. You can probably see it there. And dented. Thankfully, it didn't look like there was a lot coming out of it, but it was on the top, so I wasn't really sure what I was going to be getting out of it and not. So, cheers. Wow, that's really good. So for those that couldn't see it upside down, tonight we are doing Buddies and Grapes. So, this is the third of the 4 total Buddy sodas that they make. Back after the first of the year, we had the lemon sour, and then in March we had the strawberry. And tonight we're going with grape. And I have to say, I got my, I don't know if you can see my Minnesota flag Vikings cup. I'm drinking it in tonight. I've always been kind of one of those weird grown up orange and grape flavored kind of guys. So I like it. Nothing really that like it's popping out at me and like separates it from, I don't know, any other grape soda or flavored soda like this. But I like it. So again, obviously it's been a while, like I said, since we've done it, Buddy Soda. So for those that are interested, for my southern Minnesota listeners, it's in the great city of Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. Looks like Sleepy Eye is like directly west, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes from New Ulm. Down there, not too far north of the Minnesota-Iowa border. And like I said, I like it. The more I sip on it, for those that like those Tootsie Roll suckers, it kind of tastes like the blue one. And oh my god, it's really making me want to have one of those Tootsie Roll suckers right now. So I like it. BuddySodas.com. Right now they're currently having a sale, 25% off all of their clothing. Discount is applied in the cart. So check out Buddies, plural, BuddiesSodas.com. So that's BUDDYS and then SODAS.com. And then for those that maybe do remember, pretty simple, self-explanatory website. There's a little bit about them. Excuse me. It looks like the only one that we haven't tried yet, we'll have to try it here, is their orange soda. I swore we did, but might not have. But yeah, they have some cool alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks that you can make with it too. Shop them and find out where else they sell Buddy soda. And that's about all their website consists of. Like I said, pretty self-explanatory. They don't have a ton of social media. You can find them on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure that's about it. They don't have Twitter or X or even LinkedIn or anything like that. So kind of an older soda company. Just kind of sticking with what they know, and clearly they're doing something right, because they're still selling stuff alive and thriving since 1919 to 1933. So like I said, go check them out, BuddySodas.com. Check them out on Facebook. And we'll go from there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it tastes a little flat. Not their fault. My dumbass's fault for dropping it a while ago before we started the podcast, unfortunately. I like it. It's solid. I would probably get this over the lemon sour. Gosh, I can't remember what we ranked the lemon sour, and it's not about that, but I like it. But there are other drinks that we've had on the podcast that I would probably go out of my way to get them before this one. So let's go an 8-2, an honest 8-2. I think that's where it should be. So yeah, that's what we got tonight for Buddy Soda Grape, an 8-2. I hope you guys are happy with that. A little bit of Tommy Town for you guys. So we actually have good news for our college hockey fans. It was announced earlier this week on Tuesday the 20th that tickets are now on sale for the face-off between the University of Minnesota Gophers hockey team and the USC Tommies. The game is set for October Saturday 26th. And the face-off is set for 8 p.m. So you can either go on to tommysports.com, head on over to the men's hockey page, or even I think it's just on the homepage as well. Or you can go to ticketmaster.com and get your tickets. Today, I've already got my ticket, so now it's your guys' turn. And then the only other, we don't really have any other news, Tommy news to go over, especially for the football team. But believe it or not, they are already getting prepped for their first Thursday night game in program history, going down a week from tonight, only 7 days away, as everybody's eagerly awaiting the University of Sioux Falls coming to O'Shaughnessy Stadium. And also tune in next week as we will be doing our first ever mini weekend live stream on the YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, search The Mini Weekend, subscribe, and then you'll be able to get notified and see everything going on the YouTube page. Still relatively new, so for those big YouTube fanatics, please be patient with us, and we will slowly get there within the next couple months here too. So that is what we have for Tommy Town. But there wasn't really one specific person. There were kind of a handful of people that brought this to my attention, and a handful of people have kind of reached out just talking about last year, the sports betting, especially with the Vikings and with the NFL, really liking some of the picks. Once again, every time I do picks and betting suggestions, I always remind you guys I'm not a financial advisor. And with that, I am not liable for any losses. And just like if you make any money, I will not come after your wins either. So by popular demand, people have asked for some more betting advice, picks that I would place. So since we're doing our football preview next week, instead of just putting too much information and everything in that podcast, I thought tonight I would come to you guys with 3 week 1 college football picks from the mini weekend. So excuse me, sorry, let me get my picks up here for you guys. So the first one, where'd you go? Sorry, bear with me here. Okay, so LSU and USC, they're set for a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, September 1st. And my big thing for this is the over-under. So really quickly, I think timing is always an issue. Whether this game is in Baton Rouge or the Coliseum in November, you might see a total in the triple digits potentially. But let's remember, we're in week 1, people. And in Las Vegas, both USC and LSU lost their starting quarterbacks from last year, being 2 of the top quarterbacks taken in the draft. So that's a lot of guaranteed points out the door. And then you had Daniel's top target, Malik Neighbors, left the NFL as well. LSU's quarterback, Grant Nussmeier, is fetching plenty of buzz. But obviously, LSU focus this year will be ball control and clock consumption, I believe. And then Lincoln Riley will also face an even larger challenge on offense following a guy like Caleb Williams' departure. There's no doubt going to be a boisterous crowd for both teams. But let's not kid ourselves here. Both these teams are clearly in a rebuilding stage, in full effect. So I anticipate the under this number in week 1. So I would take the under. I think it's currently at, I don't have my timing and everything right with my picks and stuff like that and everything like that. So right now the over under is currently 63.5, and I would hammer that under. So that's the first pick. The second pick I got for you guys, North Dakota State Bison and Colorado Buffaloes. Plenty of people are going to be making this as their upset special of week 1. And I'm here to tell you I will not be one of them. A common trend, obviously, is FSC teams that are strong and have success, like North Dakota State, to beat FBS Power 5 teams when the FBS team is in an awful offense. However, Colorado can score against North Dakota State. Unlike some other powerhouses, Colorado is returning their star quarterback, their star wide receiver, and cornerback. I just really believe the Buffaloes are honestly too talented at quarterback with Shadur and at their skill positions to have the Bison's defense slow them down. I don't think there's a single person on that defense who can track Travis Hunter around the field. Not to say that they're a bad team. I just think, once again, there's a reason, one's an FCS team and one's an FBS team. Teams like that don't play very often. The state is returning 9 starters, it looks like, on the defense, including several linemen who led them in sacks last season. But I don't think that's going to be enough for a mobile quarterback like Shitter Sanders, whether it's just him trying to buy time to find his open receivers or using his legs to get him yards. But we know whatever that... and then on the flip side of that things, I really don't know what to expect from this Colorado defense. But one thing I do know about that defense is their head coach is Deion Sanders. So he will have that defense looking athletic, and so I anticipate the Buffaloes to cover their current 9-point spread here, and I would be honestly surprised if it's not at least a 3-score game. Again, this isn't to slight the Bisons. They're obviously a very, very good team. There's a reason they've won, I think it's 3 national championships like in the last 7 years or something crazy like that. But they're playing a completely different team, and and then in a completely different setting. So that's what I got. And then my third and final one is in regards to the first game of the season. So for my Florida State fans, this one's probably going to upset you guys. And I would never tell a listener not to listen. So continue to listen and hear what I have to say. Do not sleep on this matchup. It's going to be taking place in Dublin, Ireland. Part of the reason it's so early. There's no doubt Florida State's going to be out revenge in the 2024 season after being snubbed by the selection committee, and in due part to Jordan Travis's season-ending injury. Although the Seminoles will be dealing with a good bit of roster turnover, ranking just 89th in ESPN's returning production. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech is coming into this game riding what seems to me be a ton of momentum from last season. They won 4 of their last 6 games, including a come-from-behind win over UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl, to finish 7-6 on the season, and it marked the first season above over 500 for this team since Paul Johnson's last year in Atlanta in 2018. They're returning their quarterback, Haynes King, and star receiver, Eric Singleton Jr., and 4 offensive linemen. Part of the reason I like this is because of this point spread. Florida State is currently 10.5 point favorites, but I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes down to the wire. And I know for you guys, or I shouldn't say I know. If I'm picking the underdog, that doesn't always necessarily mean I think they're going to win. But in this case, I am kind of half and half. Half of me thinks that Georgia Tech will win this game. As I think there's just, too many question marks around Florida State. And then the other half of me thinks, okay, maybe they have a chance of losing. It's just not going to be by 11 points. So that is what I have for you guys here. Once again, looking at my bet slip, I got the Colorado Buffaloes to cover 9.5 points over the North Dakota State Bison. I got Georgia Tech to plus 10.5 points against Florida State. And then I have LSU and USC under 63.5 points. Once again, before I give you the final numbers, I am not a financial advisor, so do what you will with all of my picks. $100 wager on this 3-game parlay would net you $581.39 in a payout. And do what you will with them. If you want to bet all 3 of them separately, if you like 2 of them over 1 instead of all of them, go with what you feel, and we'll have more picks for you next week. After that, so I feel kind of bad. We haven't really done since we started a video podcast, we haven't really done any spit it out, Jack. Local business shout outs. So I wanted to shout out something today near and dear to my heart that honestly got snuck up on me today. And that is the beloved Minnesota State Fair. Not sure if the fam and I will be able to get out this year. So for everybody else that is, please go enjoy it for me. I can't, like I said, it honestly got snuck up on me. I didn't realize today was the first day until like 10, 11 o'clock this morning, and I was seeing everybody posting about it on Facebook, and I was like, oh shit. For those that are surprised by me bringing this up, their grandstand has some pretty big people this year. They got Becky G with special guest Los Apatos. Chance the Rapper is coming tomorrow night on Friday. Sunday will be Blake Shelton with Emily Ann Roberts. Tuesday the 27th, Ludacris and T-Pain will be in the house, which will be pretty sweet. John Party and Dylan Carmichael will be here on Wednesday the 28th. Motley Crue and White Reaper on the 29th. Matchbox 20 with Beauty School Dropout on the 30th. And then there will be a Kids Bop Live on Monday, September 2nd, which will be pretty insane to say the least. And then I always love looking this stuff up too. And it looks like some of the new foods this year are something called a 3 Piggy Pals on a stick. You got Afro peppers. We got blazing Greek bites, chili mango whip, cookie butter crunch mini donuts. Oh my god, I might have to go just for those. Crab boil wings, cotton candy iced tea. Deep fried ranch dressing. That sounds disgusting. Dill pickle tots. Let's do one more. Fried banana pie. So if you're just as surprised as me that this is already popping up, man, we're old. So yeah, that's what I have for a quick local business shout out. Go show them some love. Their website is mnstatefair.org. You can find them on all their socials. On all their socials, they have Facebook, X, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube. And maybe I'll see you guys there. Maybe not. So, excuse me. So, with that, all we really have to talk about tonight is the Timberwolves and the Vikings. So some of you may be thinking, what do we have to talk about with the Timberwolves? Well, for my casual fans that maybe don't know, back on the night of our last podcast with our good friend Sam, the NBA released their schedule for the 24-25 season, and it will be a fun one to say the least. The Timberwolves will be televised in 18 nationally televised games that include games on the season's opening night, Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. So let's just jump right into it. Like I said, the Wolves will be one of 4 teams in action on opening night after the Celtics raise their banner against the Knicks at 6:30. The Wolves will be in LA to take on the Lakers for a 9 p.m. game to kick off their season, and hopefully will be the first team to defeat the father-son duo of LeBron and Bronny James. And as you can see on the screen here too for the video watchers, after that game, Thursday the 24th, they will make a quick trip north to Sacramento before coming home for their home opener on the 26th against Toronto. And then, lo and behold, 4th game into the season, they will get their first look at the new Dallas Mavericks and try to get their revenge on them after beating them in the Western Conference Finals on the 29th. We're not going to get into too much other than analyzing a little bit of the schedule here for the Timberwolves. I do not anticipate the Mavericks being better this year. I know a lot of you might be thinking, why would you even say that? They just got Klay Thompson, Jack. They're obviously going to be better. I don't know. He was a solid defender. He's older now. And now you got a team that has Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, and Luka Doncic. I understand a lot of people might be saying, Jack, Klay doesn't necessarily need the ball to make things happen. Sure, all 3 of them need their touches. All 3, they're going to have to share looks and stuff like that. So sure, Klay Thompson maybe is fine never bringing the ball up because he's not used to that and he doesn't need that. He's still going to need his shots. Luka's going to want his shots and Kyrie's going to want his shots. So I know they're trying to go all in right now because I don't know Luka's current contract. And again, we're not going to get down this rabbit hole. I don't anticipate them being better this year. So it'll be interesting. And then weirdly enough as well, their very next game they will have after starting the season with 2 straight road games on November 1st at 8:30 p.m. they will see the Denver Nuggets for the first time since beating them in the Western Conference semifinals next November 1st. And then a weird little thing here for the Timberwolves that just kind of caught my eye. November 8th until November 13th, they will take on arguably one of the worst NBA teams in the league, the Portland Trailblazers, 3 times within the span of 4 days, 4 games and 5 total days. So looking at this, kind of similar to last year, it kind of looks like they have an opportunity to get up to a hot start, win some games early, because the Timberwolves really don't have. They're getting another, some of their young stars. They have 2 new rookies, and some of their young guys are going to be another season into the league, like Ant and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're running back the same team. So if this team can win some of these games in the early part of the season, that'll be key. That'll be key. And then another game worth mentioning, December 4th, we'll start a 3-game road trip in California for them. And this will be December 4th at 9:30 p.m. That'll be the first time the Timberwolves will find themselves in the Clippers' new arena. Can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. but they will play them on the 4th, and then go to Golden State for 2 games in 3 days. Yeah, and then another couple games that I saw here. So then, obviously, after that, we will be in Dallas on the 25th for the 1:30 game on Christmas Day. And then between Christmas and New Year's Eve, there will be 2 games in the middle that the Timberwolves will look to hopefully capitalize on. Going to Houston on the 27th, and then hosting Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs. I do think this team is going to get better. The San Antonio team is going to get better, but they won 22 games last year. I don't think they're going to be a great team, but I say that because it's not hard to be better than a 22 win team. And then on New Year's Eve, they will be in Oklahoma City for a 7 o'clock game against the reigning Western Conference number 1 seed. And then after that, there's not a whole lot that caught my eye other than the excuse me, what is it here? Here we go. So the longest, this is what I was going to talk about too. So the longest homestands the Timberwolves have, it'll actually be they have 2 5-game homestands. So from what's that, February 1st until the 8th, they will take on Washington, Sacramento, Chicago, Houston, and Portland. And I'm calling it right now, if they can win those 5 straight games, that would be huge. Because they have some tougher games. Later in the month, they'll see Oklahoma City 3 times in 4 games and all that kind of fun stuff. And then their second 5-game homestand will be coming in the middle of March, as they will find themselves having another good opportunity to capitalize on some serious games. Where they will be taking on the Orlando Magic, Utah Jazz, Indiana Pacers, New Orleans Pelicans twice from the 14th to the 21st. So yeah, I mean, you look at even those 5 games, 2 of them didn't even make the playoffs. And one of those teams that were playing twice, the New Orleans Pelicans, hardly won a game. So there's a lot of inexperience there. There's again, games that this team should win. Now, one of the things that I really liked about this Minnesota Timberwolves team last year that did exceptionally well, they obviously got behind the 8 ball a little bit with some tougher games at the end of the season, but last year they really, really, really did a great job of winning games they should win. I think you look back on the 22 season, the 21 season, and the 20 season, part of the reason, even before Ant got into the league and stuff like that, part of the reason they never ended that well is because they would beat, a Boston Celtics, or they would beat a really good Miami Heat team that they probably shouldn't have won. But then they freaking lost to like the Detroit Pistons, like a team that they just shouldn't win. So last year they did a phenomenal job of beating, I think, 98% of the teams that they should have beat. And that's half the battle. So again, this year, I think if they're able to capitalize on these runs, especially early on in the season, they really put themselves in a position, and later in the season, where regardless of if it's a good team or a bad team, like they're not having to win a ton, and they've already built up, a lead in the standings. And then the last group of games I thought we'd quickly talk about too was, their longest road trip. So their longest road trip will also be 5 games, just like their 5-game homestands. And it will be essentially wrapping up the season. So from April 1st to April 10th, they will go to Denver, to Brooklyn, to Philadelphia, to Milwaukee, and then to Memphis. And again, those are, 5 games that, one, 2 of the, like some of those are going to be dogfights. So again, would it be awesome to beat a Philadelphia team that landed PG? Would it be awesome to beat a Milwaukee team with Dame and Giannis, who last year I didn't think looked amazing? They weren't really all that healthy, so That team's a matter of if they can stay healthy. And Memphis, I know Ja wasn't playing much last year. I have big question marks around that team. So we'll see what happens. And then literally the reason I say that is because after that 5-game homestand, they will come back home for an April 11th game against the Nets, and then an April 13th game hosting the Utah Jazz before wrapping up the regular season and getting ready for the NBA playoffs. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown for the Wolves schedule right there for you. All right, well, excuse me. Now on to our final topic of the night. So getting ready for this podcast. It was kind of a last minute question that somebody reached out on Instagram, DM me on Instagram about, and was talking about. It was in reference to, I think, not only did I say it in a podcast a couple weeks ago, but I think I posted it as my TikTok too. And Macy wants to know, Jack, which 3 teams are we playing this year that you think are going to be picking in the top 5? And again, with a lot of content coming up in next week's episode with the game by game summaries, kind of bowl predictions, stuff like that, I think this is an appropriate time to answer your question, Macy. And I will tell you, the New York Giants, Indianapolis Colts, and Tennessee Titans, I believe, will be 3 teams that are picking in the top 5 next year. I'll even go as far to say I would be flabbergasted if any 3 of those teams aren't picking in the top 10. I'm doubling down, saying all 3 of them will be in the top 5 for picks. But I would be completely appalled if even one of those 3 teams is not in the top 10. Really quickly, the New York Giants, I don't think Daniel Jones is that guy. I don't think he comes back from this injury well. They got themselves a great playmaker, but after Daniel Jones, they don't really have many options at quarterback. So I think they're going to find themselves in a position next year where Daniel Jones maybe did good enough, but not good enough to keep them presentable in their eyes, but not bad enough to be like, oh, we're going to take a quarterback. No, for sure. And honestly, after watching the offseason of the New York Giants, I really like that their GM over there seems like really smart guy, but I don't know. The Indianapolis Colts, I have questions about Anthony Richardson's health. Jonathan Taylor is still a great back, don't get me wrong. He's getting older. He's got some health issues. I don't see them being a tough team, and I think it's going to be tough for them to be competitive in that division with the Tennessee Titans, because I really do think the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have such a stronghold on the top of that division. Truthfully, I think we're not going to get into definitives here, but the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars, it could be both making the playoffs potentially. Yeah, that's what I have for you guys answering your question, Macy. We made 2 signings since the last podcast that I thought would be smart to talk about. So first and foremost, signed Stephon Gilmore. I have to say, I'm not super surprised by this trade. Even before it was announced that he was flying to Minnesota and left without a deal, I was hearing some things that it was likely we were going to be signing him, simply from the fact that he had been holding out hope. Him and his team thought they were going to get more offers than they did. No doubt he's a veteran, but he's lost a step. He's not the guy he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady with. But he certainly brings that veteran presence. more specifics on his contract. He signed a 1-year deal worth up to $10 million with $7 million guaranteed. His agent told ESPN the two-time first team All-Pro is the fifth and by far the most significant quarterback acquisition by the Vikings that we've made this summer. And I think he's going to be a big presence in that defensive back room. I think having a guy like him and Harrison Smith both talking to the safeties and the young cornerbacks, I think will help tremendously. I think if you're Harrison Smith, you're kind of safety specific. So although he kind of maybe has perspective for some of those cornerbacks, I think it'll help that they actually have a cornerback in the room. And no doubt he's going to be reuniting with Brian Flores, who was with the New England Patriots, coaching staff for 2 of Gilmore's seasons with the Patriots, which will be pretty fun. And then I was literally about to start talking about him, and then I remember we had a question. Zach with an H wants to know, what do you make of the Matt Corral signing? And truthfully, my first thought is I don't know if it's Corral or Coral, but I like Coral, so we're going with Coral. And I do like it. I know we don't know much about him. To fill his roster spot, it says the Vikings signed free agent Matt Corral to a third-round pick of the Carolina Panthers, who spent time with the New England Patriots and the UFL's Birmingham Stallions. He's going to join a room, obviously, with Darnold, Mullins, and Hall. Sounds like Corral reported... Or wait. Oh, no, that's on that. But, yeah, so, I mean, low and short, we don't... No, I thought I had his stats pulled up. We don't know a ton about him because he's a young guy. He was drafted in 2022. So I don't know that he's played much, if any, in the league. Come on. Yeah, no, he hasn't really played at all. But I think Sam and I talked a little bit about this yesterday, just in terms of getting somebody new in that room. I know Jaron Hall looks good in the preseason. But again, he's a young guy. Like, it's one of those situations where it's like, he's obviously not playing against NFL starters quite yet. He's playing against backups and that kind of stuff. We know what we're gonna get with Nick Mullins. He's not gonna win you a ton of games. We saw him throw 6 picks in 5 or 6 games and go 1-5 or 1-4 for us last year. Like, I think, again, I'm going to stand by it. I've been talking about it for weeks. I think Darnold is going to surprise a lot of people. I think he's going to surprise a lot of Minnesota fans. I think he's going to surprise a lot of fans with what he's able to do this year. And I would just hate, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would hate for him, I would hate for Darnold to bring us to I don't know, let's say, I'd hate for him to bring us to, an 8-3 or 8-4 start, and then have some kind of an injury, a short-term injury, and then all of a sudden, he's missing 2 or 3 games, and he's going to come back, and we lose those 2 and 3 games, and now we're in the thick of things, and in just a different position. So I think it's not a bad idea to have options. Again, he's young, but it's a fresh guy in the room. You're not bringing in a guy that lost you games last year. You're not bringing it's a different guy that looked like trash for you last year, and replacing Kirk Cousins. So all in all, even though we don't know too much about him, I think it's a good thing. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't see a little bit of action on our third preseason game when we take on the Eagles. What's that? Saturday, I think. Yeah, Saturday. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be nice to see what we have in him and kind of go from there. And then our last question tonight comes from Happy Stanley. That's his Twitter handle. I don't know what it is. Happy Stanley. And he wants to know who is poised to have a breakout or surprise year for the Vikings. That's a great question. I don't have like a definitive like one person answer, but I kind of have one, two, kind of have three. Yeah, I kind of have three guys I like. So the first one is Andrew Booth. Or no, wait, nope, that's the bottom of the page. My bad. So the first one is Patrick Jones. Outside linebacker. I think after adding guys like Greenard, Ginkle, Turner, and Cashman to the room, I think in this offseason, I think the joint that room is just going to be crowded with outside linebackers. Jones was not drafted by the current leadership regime, and someone has got to go at that edge as a roster. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens if he can make that roster. I think he could really break out just from the standpoint of not being a big name that people are looking for. And then two, I think Caleb Evans. I think he was a little bit inconsistent last year, but I think adding some of those veteran cornerbacks and the defensive backs like we talked about, I think it'll help him kind of take that next step in his game. And then the third one being Ty Chandler. I think last year we saw a lot of good things from him in the regular season. For some reason, we didn't want to give him a ton of touches for some reason. So I hope he gets more looks, and I think he will do just that. So yeah, those are the three guys I think have potential to have breakout seasons. To answer your question, excuse me. All right, so with that, all done with topics for the night. So just wanted to kind of quickly give everybody a friendly reminder. Once again, we alluded to it last week, but we are doing the first touchdown challenge. So yes, once again, we're doing the Pick'em challenges. Go sign up for that on ESPN. We'll have links everywhere. You can find all things Minny Weekend, and you can get signed up that way to win some free merch. And then we will also be doing the first touchdown challenge presented by the Minny Weekend. So essentially, what it is. Excuse me. Essentially what it is each week up until 15 minutes before the kickoff, you will be able to Venmo me. I'm still working on a Venmo handle. That's why we haven't released like specifics yet. But you have 15 minutes before to send me a Venmo for $5, and in the subject line, tell me who you think is going to get the first touchdown. So if it's week 2 and we're playing the San Francisco 49ers, you could send me $5 and say JJ receiving touchdown, Aaron Jones rushing touchdown, Brandon Ayuk rushing touchdown, Christian McCaffrey receiving touchdown. You could do Harrison Smith pick 6, but you're going to put in there who you think gets the first touchdown of the game, whether you think it's a Minnesota player, a Giants player, or a San Fran player. Okay. And then what will happen is if 10 people do it, that's a $50 pot. And if one person guesses Aaron Jones receiving touchdown, that one person wins $50. And then if the right thing was JJ receiving touchdown and 5 people pick that, each person gets $10. So once again, it's kind of a cool, fun little betting game to win some money from your peers. And it's kind of a challenge to kind of want to be right, but also kind of be original, because if you get it right, you want to maximize your winnings instead of having to share the pot. So, I wanted to remind you guys of that. we'll post more information on Instagram and TikTok and everything once we have the Venmo set up and all that kind of stuff. And then lastly, I'm going to remind you guys again, we are we have our first live stream next week, 7 o'clock, YouTube or Twitter, X, and we will have your 2024 football preview for you guys. So with that, I will remind you guys that this podcast about you guys, the listeners, if you have a question you want me to answer or a topic you want me to address, please reach out on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or by emailing us. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram handles are at minnyweekend, and email is minnyweekend@gmail.com. That's MINNYWEEKEND @gmail.com. And be sure to let us know if you'd like to stay anonymous with your questions as well. Also, find us and give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter, where there are giveaways and you can stay up to date on all things Minny Weekend. And lastly, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified of the new episode as soon as it comes out. Till next time, man.